What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 60 of C4SVillains. I am your host JB and I am here with my friends and the Council of Villains, my boy Steve. Vash should be here maybe a little bit later, maybe not. It might just be me and Steve tonight, but we're going to be talking about Moon Knight episodes 4 and 5. It is going to be a really fun show. There's a lot of great shit to talk about in these two episodes. Like, Moon Knight has been absolutely incredible and I can't wait to see how it's all gonna wrap up. But Steve, thank you so much for joining me on this episode.
Of course. Did you say episode 60?
Episode 60, bro.
Wow. Been working.
Right?
This time is flying. I did not know we were at 60 right now. That's
yeah,
crazy.
man. 60 already. I can't wait to get to episode 100.
Man, that's gonna be a crazy episode. I wonder what's gonna be out 40 weeks from now.
Yeah, right? It's a good question.
That would be crazy, whatever. If it's like an event movie too. Oh my god.
Yeah. But how have you been liking Moon Knight so far? Like, we're 5 episodes in, there's only 1 episode left. Like, what are your like overall thoughts on the series so far?
So I love Moon Knight so far. I still have Loki #1, but I think Moon Knight so far, unless the ending is just impeccable. But it's hard to top Loki's last ending. I mean, finale too, with Jonathan Majors still in the show. But Moon Knight has been really good. I'm enjoying it. Probably put it in #2 for me. These last two episodes, these last two episodes, thinking that you're not going to see him in suit, to think that these episodes would be that good without him being inside of the Moon Knight's costume and the suit or whatever is crazy. Like, I never thought that these episodes would be that freaking good without actually seeing like some action sequences and everything of him fighting in the costume. So I'm actually really surprised at how great this really is turning out. Like, I knew it was going to be good, but this is turning out really good.
Yeah, I think I can say that about every Marvel Disney Plus show. Like, I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't think it was going to be this good.
Yeah.
Like, WandaVision right out the gate, just one of the best like TV series I think ever. Like, it's just so fucking good in terms of like comic book movie like TV shows. Like, it's definitely one of the best ever, period. Can't wait to see Wanda in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which is next week. 2 days after the Moon Knight finale. Nuts.
By this time next week, we would have been seeing, me and you at least, would have seen Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I can't
so
wait.
crazy.
But yeah, man, Moon Knight has been so good. There are some people that aren't the biggest fans of it, and it is what it is, but I think Moon Knight's really good. Oscar Isaac is acting his ass off. I think like the set design and the cinematography in this series is one of the best we've had so far. I would, in terms of just cinematography and set design, I put this right under Loki. Like, it just looks so good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Loki would be the only one. And I think it would be slightly better than Loki because of some of the set design that I've started to pick up on Easter eggs and stuff like that after, watching a couple videos and watching the episode over and over. Like, one of the set designs is literally an episode, the same set from episode like 2, and they just painted it white. I don't know if you.
Which one was that?
So in episode 2, when they go into the cave, when it's Steven and Layla, they go into this cave where where Arthur has his cave or whatever. That is the same set that's inside of the psych ward. They just painted white.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like when I saw that, when I saw the video, I was like, I gotta go watch it. And then I watched those episodes and I was like, yo, this is crazy that they did that. So that boosted it up for me because it was just like I didn't even notice that. And it's just because this is all obviously just in his head, the psych ward part. So it's
Yeah.
like he's in these same areas, but they just painted the set different colors. And I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's
Crazy
actually
attention
pretty
to
cool.
detail. Yeah. Crazy attention to detail.
Yeah, man, I love this series. And guys, we're not going to do any news today because we didn't have a show last week. I just want to really dive into these two episodes, and I don't want to leave anything on the table. I don't want to feel rushed in any way. So, like, let's just dive into Moon Knight episode 4. Like we do, as always, we're going to talk about the production quality. Actually, for this review, we're going to talk about the production quality for both episodes, and then we're going to do like a character and story breakdown for each episode individually. So, overall, over the past two episodes, like, what were some of your favorite like things from the production, like the set design? What was, you already mentioned one thing, but give me another example of something, one of your favorite things from like the set design, the editing, cinematography, anything like that.
So in this latest episode, when they're looking through the rooms and you're seeing previous scenes from other episodes, kind of like showing, I thought that was really dope. It reminded me of Inception, like the elevator kind of thing, how
Yeah.
they go to the elevator and you see different past parts of their lives and everything. So just going into the room and you can see like the silhouette and the background of when Mark and Khonshu is turning the time back and everything like that to make the moons go back. Like I thought that was really cool. I really enjoy the way that the hippo is kind of depicted.
Yeah.
Like as she's talking, like her ears wiggle and things like that. And I thought that was really cool. Um, and then even on episode 4, I believe the if we look at the hallways, the lamps are kind of like tilting and swaying. And
Yeah,
then
because they're
now
on the boat. Yeah.
I never peeped that. And then I thought about it again on episode 5 and I was like, oh, okay, they're in a boat. That's why the lamps and everything were swaying and we never, but it's been really good in this.
Yeah, specific period. Like, I just love them being that awkward moment between Steven and Layla.
Mhm.
Like, he's always just so awkward. Like, that kiss was so cringy to watch.
And it's like their faces were all smashed together and it was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was real weird.
Mm.
So let's get into episode 4 itself. Let's get into like the character breakdowns and all that stuff. So I kind of want to start off with Harrow in this episode because this guy continues to be a master of manipulation. So, kind of want to get your thoughts on the conversation between Harrow and Layla when he pretty much tells her that Mark hasn't been telling her the whole truth and that he was around when her father died.
Yeah, it was really it was manipulative the way that he does it too, because it makes it seem like Mark has something to do with it, which, you know what I'm saying, it implies that and it gives that feel just because, you know what I'm saying, he wants to turn her and everything like that. So I like that. That conversation in general was just like Arthur Harrow is really just like playing his cards and playing his cards the right way of just like I'm gonna make sure that everybody sees things my way and don't interfere with the things that I want to do. So and he's basically even with this scene, he's telling her what he wants her to believe and things like that. And even if it only halts her for just a moment, it's enough to let him succeed at what he wants to do and his ultimate plan and everything like that. But yeah, that scene was pretty cool. I thought the scene in general when he shows up and he appears, it's just like, which is what I've been saying every time. I'm like, bro, he's always here. Like, how is he always popping up, man? And I just like, there's no way. There's got to be some kind of mind trick or something going on. And I was like, he's
He
here
he
again.
has really good followers, bro. It's the followers, it's the scarab that's leading him, and then every time Mark and Layla find something, I think they also find out too. Because remember, they turned the sky back. So I think Harrow just had one of his people read it the same way they did so that they can find that tomb. And then after he shot Mark, I think he took the, he took the statue of Amit and set her free. You know, so I think he just has, much like on Falcon and the Winter Soldier with the Flag Smashers, they just have followers everywhere. So that's what I think, but you could be right. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what's actually real. That's what I love about this show.
Yeah, yeah, I like that, and this I like not knowing. So this finale, I'm wondering how is it going. I wonder how long it's going to be. I don't think we're going to
It's,
get.
they said it's 45 minutes. The
Wow.
official release said that the finale was 45 minutes, and that's with credits. So that's what I'm very confused about too. So it's like, how do we, cuz we got little bits of Jake in this
It's a,
episode and in episode 5, right?
mhm.
We have to get back to the living world. We have to stop Harrow. There has to be some kind of resolution between Mark and Layla. There has to be some resolution between Mark and his other alters. So it's like, how do you do all of this in 45 minutes?
And does he get? Is he going? We're going to get Khonshu back, like,
Right. Does he
Are
save
we going?
Khonshu?
Yeah, we're going to get him back now, or are we going to get him back in a later movie or something like that? Like, how is this all going to play out? So
I
this is going to
don't
be
think
interesting.
they can stop Amit and Haro
Khonshu.
without Khonshu. So it's like, okay, so what's the plan? What do we do here? You know?
45 minutes is crazy to think that that's all they were going to. It's either going to be really, really rushed or they're going to surprise us. And it's going to, like I told you, I don't believe in coincidences in the Marvel Universe. This ending 2 days before Doctor Strange comes out feels a lot like we're going to get. I don't know what we could get in Doctor Strange, but it feels like maybe even if it's just in end credit and he sees Moon Knight or something like that. But I'm just wondering, yo, what's going on? Because, like you said, 45 minutes and all of that, 2 days before Doctor Strange, something is gonna tie, and
Yeah.
I'm just waiting.
I hope the reports are wrong. I really do. But I read it from like 3 different sources that all said it was going to be 45 minutes, which is pretty much the shortest episode of the entire season.
Yeah, that's even if they give us a whole hour, it would be more. That extra 15 minutes would be more satisfactory. I don't know how they're gonna do it with 45 minutes. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm also very very confused on that. But how did you feel about like Mark and Steven's relationship and them getting closer in this episode?
Oh, I really like that. I like the fact that they're because I don't know if you said it right that they have to figure out, or was it Vash that was saying that they have to coexist and work together and to stop, distancing themselves and working apart. They have to actually work together.
It's
So
probably
that was
Vash.
coming, yeah. So it was actually coming into fruition when it was going on in this episode where they were like kind of working together. They went through the past and they discovered things together. Um, it was really, really tough. This last episode, episode 5. But yeah, just their bond and everything, like the fact that they were growing together. And I feel like Mark obviously he already knew about Steven. So the fact that he kind of has a better or a closer relationship in a sense with Steven than Steven actually has with him. So it was cool to see that dynamic where Steven is actually growing to care for Mark the way that Mark probably already cares about that persona. And I thought that that was really cool too, just seeing that different dynamic because Mark is already like, no, you can't see this, or let me protect you. He already had that mindset. But then as the episode goes on, Steven saves Mark. He realizes I can't just sit here and watch this fight going on. And it just was like that different dynamic, and he was finally coming around. And then we get what we get in the end of the episode. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed that dynamic of them just like kind of having that brotherhood. Like really, it was growing.
Yeah. Sam, don't worry. We're going to talk about the mom because wow. Like that was absolutely crazy. But one thing that I didn't even expect in this episode was pretty much like the mummified priest that was mummifying other people like right out of a horror movie. Like what did you think about that?
That scene was really crazy because it was just like, what are we seeing here? Like with Arthur Harrow, you're kind of seeing he got followers and things like that, and you know what he wants. But then we're seeing these different like things or whatever with the mummified priest, and he's making making other things mummified and things like that, and you're wondering, is Mark really seeing this, or is this something in his head? Because now he doesn't have the eyes of Khonshu. So this has to be really happening.
Yeah, and
Or
Layla sees it too.
yeah, so it's like it has to be really happening. But I know, like, as far as like comic runs, he can't see stuff like that without the eyes of Khonshu. So I was definitely like, oh, this is kind of crazy to see how this is playing out. And I just thought that scene was really, really like demented. It was like crazy. Like I was just like, oh, okay, this is what we're getting, because of all people, it's a priest, right? And there's somebody that's supposed to be quote unquote looking after people, things like that, and doing guiding them in the right direction. So we get it from that perspective, and I just thought, yeah, this is it.
Yeah, it was bloody, gruesome. Still way more blood than Morbius, by the way. I'm gonna keep saying that.
I need to see more of this. I do.
Oh god, it's ridiculous. But I thought that was really really cool. And then like just jumping back to the conversation between Layla and Mark, like Mark keeps thinking that the right thing to do is to shield Layla from everything. And
Mhm.
Steven tells her, "Yo, he only walked away from you because he knew that Khonshu wanted to use your body, right? Like he wanted to use you as his next avatar, and he was
Mhm.
just trying to protect her from that." And it's like, although that makes sense, she was your wife. You should have told her. Like, what do you think?
Yeah. It's one of those things where he's trying to protect her from every little thing, and it's like she doesn't need to be coddled. Like just like how Steven says, she's your wife. You need to tell her. The whole thing is Khonshu wants her body because he knows how strong she is. So if she's that strong and she has that strong kind of a will that he would kind of like want, I think she would be strong enough to handle this information.
Right.
And so like Mark is shielding it, and obviously we maybe he's shielding it because because the overall situation with her dad, that makes sense, later on down the line. But it's just like if he just, shares this information, things would be different. You know what I'm saying? She wouldn't be so in the dark. She's done pretty well at defending herself, protecting herself, and things like that in their situation. So that whole scene was pretty cool. Like the way that Steven was just their personality dynamic is like you're my partner. Whereas far as with Steven, and whereas with Mark, it's like I have to protect you, I have to coddle you, and all this other stuff because of what honestly and truth, I was there with your dad, you know what I'm saying, and all this other stuff. So now you're already hiding that information. So it's more lies stacked on top of more lies because you have to hide more things.
Do you
So I
think do you think that Mark only went to see her because he felt guilty and then he ended up falling in love with her?
yes, I don't think he just went to just go see her just to go see her. I think it had everything to do with the dad's dead. I need to go check out on the daughter, and all this other stuff, and then he falls in love. I don't think it was more so of your dad died memorabilia type thing. You know what I'm saying? Paying your
Yeah.
homage and respect. I don't think it was anything of that nature. I think it was just let me just check on her and I'll watch over her like a little knight or something like that. And then he
Yeah.
falls in love with her.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Like it's just so sad, but again, like I feel like this could have been avoided if Mark was just more upfront. It's like, dude, she's not a stranger. She's your wife. You know what I mean? You should have told. I completely understand. Like I don't have DID, so I don't understand what he's going through fully. But
Mhm.
she's your wife. If there's anyone that you can confide in, it was her to like let her know, hey, I have DID. This is like especially up to this point, like when she's met Steven, like he still doesn't want to tell her anything. But
Mhm.
as we learned in episode 5, this is simply just how he deals with trauma. Like he just keeps it in, he locks it away in those little rooms in that insane asylum. He just
Mhm.
locks it all away behind a door, and he thinks that's the best way to deal with it. And that's one thing that I love about this show. Like, what I love about the MCU period is that these heroes are not perfect.
Mhm.
They have issues, like they have mental problems, they have social problems, social anxiety. Like they're not these perfect beings, right? Like we idolize them, but they're human beings too, and this is
Right.
a really good exploration of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I really like that too. Like that was really well said because we get that the DID from Moon Knight, we get survivor's remorse with Hawkeye and so forth and so forth. So it's
Yeah,
just
man.
like it's like just these different like like you said, there's different personality things that's going on with these people because you know that they're humans. They're not just superheroes. They're not just gods. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're like literally people, and they have feelings. They have things that they deal with on their own. So yeah, they're doing a good job of depicting that.
Yeah. I'm really hoping that after all of this, that Mark is really actually able to reconcile with Layla, because she has every right to be upset, right? Like we've been married and you've been sitting on this information that you were there the night that my father died. And then it's
Mhm.
like on top of that, he was trying to save him. He was trying to save him and everyone else, and he
Mhm.
ended up getting shot as well by Bushman, who you would know as pretty much like one of the first villains Moon Knight ever faces in the very first issue of the comic. So I thought that was a really cool like nod to
Callback.
that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's like her being upset is completely warranted. Like, we were together this whole time. You knew what happened to my father. I've been trying to figure out what's been going on, and you knew the whole time. You just didn't tell me.
And you
So she
could have
has
told.
every right to be upset.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's like to think that you're searching for all of this information and then it's been right there in your face. You know what I'm saying? The entire time, and it could have been easily given to you. You know what I'm saying? And it could have been a big weight lifted off your chest just to have that information.
Not see that coming.
Hmm.
And then, like, we get Insane Asylum. Now,
Hmm.
we've read the 2016 run. So it's
Hmm.
like, to us, we know what this means off rip. But to general audiences, and this is where I kind of wish I never even knew anything about Moon Knight at all, was this twist kind of makes you believe, wait, is this all in Mark's head?
Hmm.
Like, because once we get to the insane asylum, we see Layla, we see Harrow as a doctor, right? Like, we
Yeah.
see all of these references to the Moon Knight. He has like a Moon Knight action figure. Stephen Grant, we see the
The
VHS
post.
tape, right?
Hmm.
We see all of these different things. So it's like, oh, is this guy really like mentally ill? And he created this story and all of these different personas like in this insane asylum. So it's like,
Hmm.
without that knowledge, it's really cool to like not know what's going on. Like, what did you think when you saw the switch?
So when the switch happened, I was like, okay, now we're finally here. And it was one of those things was like, we know the story and everything like that, but we don't necessarily know how the MCU wants to portray it because, like, we know that Stephen Grant was not the original, but they started the show off with Stephen Grant to make it look like that's the original body. So I didn't know how the MCU wants to depict it. The MCU might depict it as he really is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, how are we going to go with this? Because there's a lot of things that they've done in the MCU to kind of make it seem like they're real life events. As far as like they talk about Avatar, they talk about he calls Harold Ned Flanders. So
Yeah, yeah.
those things are real in the MCU, which means that the movie with Stephen Grant, which isn't necessarily real in the real world, is it really real per se, or is it something that they inserted in there to fuck with Mark? So I was confused. I was like, okay, how are we going to do this? Because we know some things are real and some things aren't real. So I was wondering how they were trying to do that, if that was just one of them things where they were implanting some kind of like bug in his head to make him think like you made these up here inside the asylum, or if it's actually one of those things that really was going on. So it was still like, even though we knew some things that were going to happen, kind of in a sense, that part right there of not knowing, I still was like trying to put together pieces as it was going on. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's like the show is the show takes elements from the comic, but it's still way different because Mark is pretty much the only one that's pretty close to the comic, but
Mm.
Steven and, we're going to talk about it in episode 5, but Jake was peeking out just a little bit in that episode.
A few times.
Yeah, and then in episode 4, like, we first of all, once Mark gets out of the office talking to Harrow, we see him run down the hallway and hide inside of a room where he pushes the lid off of this sarcophagus, sees Steven, and I love that they get this huge hug, right? Like, this embrace,
Mhm.
like, oh my god, I'm so happy to see you, because they have this great moment earlier on in the film where Mark feels like gratitude that Steven told Layla why he did what he did when he walked away from her, right? Like, he just thought that she should know, and Mark just never told her. And it's Mark needs to learn how to share more, which is why I like Steven, because Steven helps Mark open up.
Mhm. Yeah. and he's opening up that side of his personality. In a sense, it's all him, but he shut that part of his mind off and put it inside of another uh, personality. So
Yeah.
I think that that's really cool that he's opening up that part to him. But when he pushes the sarcophagus down, I'm not saying that right, but he pushes it, and then we get Steven pops up, and then there's the other tomb, kind of just right there in the corner, and it's shaking, and then they kind of just no, and they go away, and I'm like, yo, that's Jake, get him out of there.
Right. I said the same thing. I was like, yo, go help Jake.
I'm like, he's right there, help him out. Like, but I feel like they're doing that on purpose too. If they do a Jake reveal on the very final episode, or if they don't reveal him until another movie, that way you get more tie the character into because of the DID.
Yeah.
So maybe they're gonna wait until the movie, but I really feel like Jake is just here, and he's been here. Like, I mean, like you said, we'll get to it, but I'm just like, man, he's been here.
Yeah, Jake has definitely been around since the first episode. Like, after rewatching a couple episodes, I'm like, Steve was right, man. Like, it was definitely Jake who asked out that woman. It was definitely him. I think it was definitely Jake looking up at the camera at the end of the first or second episode. I think that was definitely Jake as well. I think that was Jake in the cab in episode 3.
Yep.
And then definitely Jake at the beginning of episode 5, like for sure.
Oh yeah, because okay, so like when they do these flashbacks to him, like when they show Steven, there's no cuts, there's no bruises. When they show Mark, there's no cuts, there's no bruises. Then you hear this accent, and there's a cut on his freaking nose, bruises on his. I'm like, yo, this is Jake, and I was just like, they're literally showing it to you right there in y'all face, and nobody's probably picking up on it right now. So it's going to be like a reveal, and then you get a rewatch immediately, and then you get to see all this stuff, develop.
My thing is, and we'll talk about this a lot more once we get to episode 5. I know I keep saying that because episode 5 is like pretty much like the heart of this show right now. But like, it's like he clearly created Jake to deal with violence in general, right? Like, Steven is there to essentially have the life he wished he lived, a normal, happy life with a wonderful mother. And then Jake was there to deal with the beatings from his mother. And Jake was also there to deal with the horrors of killing people like he had to do when he was a mercenary, when he worked for Conchu, because he talked about not being able to sleep well with all of the people that he's killed. So I think Jake was created from when he was a kid to deal with all of that stuff, because Steven doesn't remember any of the beatings and Mark didn't deal with it. So I think Jake was created to deal with that. And that bandage on his nose is kind of like symbolism of, for lack of a better term, him being the punching bag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a lot of crazy shit going on, man.
Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. And like I love mystery and trying to figure out things. So I'm enjoying this like a lot. So
Yeah. And Sam, you're so right. Like, Mark tells her about the suit. He tells her about Conchu and the suit. A suit, by the way, that heals any injury. The dude had like 5 spears through his body in episode 3, and he survives. He tells her about the suit, but not about everything else.
not about everything else. Yeah, that's wild. And she knew about the suit too, because she tells Steven, hey, get the suit, like call the suit. So she's been knowing about the suit. You know what I'm saying? So that is crazy.
Yeah, it's wild that the things that he chooses to hide from her. It's like, why marry her? Why commit to her on that level if you're not actually going to share anything and actually commit to those vows? You know what I mean? Like, if anything, you should have known that Layla would have been able to handle the fact that you have DID, and she would accept you, and she would comfort you. Like, she would do anything needed to support you on that level. But I mean, when you haven't even had that love from your own mother, I mean, I can only imagine like how that fucked him up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Just him, the relationship with your mom could affect your relationship with other women in general. Just,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just facts. So it could be one of those things where he just felt like he needed to hide it just because of that. And Like he obviously had to hide stuff from his mom because he thought that he'd get in trouble or something or get beat. So maybe, you know what I'm saying? It's the same situation. Obviously, he doesn't think that Layla's going to beat him or anything like that, but it's a defense mechanism where he feels he needs to hide things from her.
Yeah, man. It's all really just like depressing, sad, yet inspiring at times at the same time because again in episode 5 like we're getting closer to him having closure and him having acceptance of himself. You know what I mean? So it's just
Mhm.
like my question is like what happened throughout his life that he doesn't even remember Jake?
That's what I'm wondering too, because and does he not remember him or is he choosing not to bring him up?
I mean, cuz look at episode 3, right? When he kills those guys on the rooftop. He's like,
Oh yeah.
"Steven, what did you do?" And he's like, "That wasn't me." So it's
Mhm.
like that was a genuine reaction. It doesn't even sound like he hasn't even like an inkling that there could even be another altar. So it's just like what could have happened, or does he did he never know about Jake and Jake? So okay, so let me gather my thoughts. So much like how Steven was a creation of Mark, like Mark manifested Steven, what if Jake created himself to protect both of them? And that's why none of them know who he is. Like, what do you think
Fact.
about that?
I mean, that could be something because of definitely Mark remembers some things, but obviously he doesn't remember all, right? Because, like you said, he doesn't remember Jake in most instances. But even the situation where the mom walks into the room and Steven's cleaning up, and then he's like trying to clean up and pick up all the toys, and the mom breaks the door down, and then Mark kind of says, "I don't want you to see this." So for that one, that I would think that that's Mark, right? Because if he said, "I don't want you to see this," that means he remembers what happened. Because if he doesn't remember what happened, that means that would be Jake.
True. Yeah.
So maybe because there is a gap in between that though, because they do go down to memories, things like that, and we get that last punishment beating that we get from the mom, and then the next time we get something as far as like childhood and everything like that is Mark being a teenager and leaving. So I'm wondering if that right in between there was just a bunch of Jake
I don't
throughout
know.
those like like 8 years or whatever as a child. So, but like you said, Stephen Mark created Stephen. We had the part where he kind of like steps into the light, if you will, and then he starts cleaning up the room. Maybe that's the same way with Jake. Maybe Jake just kind of like pushes his way and forces his way in and is like, I'm taking over right now. And that's how it goes.
Yeah. Because, I mean, now that you say that, it's like, okay, maybe it was Mark for a lot of it. And then because of the constant beatings over time, Jake manifested in order to take over from that to protect Mark
Hmm.
and then to further shield Steven from the monster.
Yeah. Was so do they talk about they say the mom is dead,
Yeah.
but do they actually talk about how she died or did
No.
I miss that?
No, they don't say how she died.
Wow.
Are you thinking Jake killed her?
I didn't say it. You said it. Because that would be insane. That
Because I mean,
would.
because if that's the case, right? They share the same body. You would think that, like, because we see the father looking outside the window in episode 5. I know we're not even talking about episode 4 anymore, but the dad looks outside the window and sees the son, and he doesn't seem upset at all. So it's like, I don't know. We don't know. We don't know how she died. Like maybe Jake like killed her in an alley, and we have to blame Joe Chill or some shit.
Alley, slow poisoning,
Who knows?
like anything. Like, man, that's just crazy. I'm just thinking about that. I'm like, man, what if that was his way of protecting him? Like,
Dude, that's a
um,
really good point. Jake probably killed her to protect Mark and Steven.
that or the dad did it, and that's why he doesn't feel too bad about it. But
I have thoughts about the dad. I think he's a pussy. I think he's an absolute pushover. And you
Mhm.
allowed your wife to beat the shit out of your son for years.
Hmm.
He
After
and
dealing with what they dealt with.
Yeah.
because you know that he's dealing, just like she's dealing with it in angry mode. You're dealing with the loss of your son, and your son was there when the other son passed away, so he's dealing with it in an entirely different way, and you're not doing anything to step in.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So let's just get into the episode 5 breakdown because we've already been talking so much about it. This episode is about balancing the scales, right? Like getting a balance between essentially their shared soul in order to get back to the living world in order to stop Harrow. I fucking love this episode. We've talked about it just a little bit here. Well, let's dive even deeper into it. Like just Mark dealing with all of this trauma. But before we get there, let's talk about finding out about the afterlife, the Egyptian afterlife in the MCU, and the acknowledgement of all of the other afterlives. I love that they brought up the ancestral plane. That instantly, made me think of Chadwick, and it made me really, really sad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, what did you think about that? Like, learning about the Egyptian underworld, and then the acknowledgement of all of the other afterlives.
So I thought that was cool that they connected those, because now we have that confirmation that there are afterlife, and they were like, this isn't just your afterlife. This is just one of many afterlives where they have the different type of things. So it makes you think about that. Makes you think about Thanos when he's kind of like, doing flashbacks and talking about it, some more and everything like that. So you have those different, like, kind of like things where it feels like, because he's walking in his field with the flowers and stuff, and yeah, he's not dead, but he does have that thought process of, it's like a memory or like a fantasy little after, world or whatever. So I'm just like, okay, that's cool how they're depicting that, and that they're bringing it into they're confirming it into confirmation that we have these different afterlives and things like that. So I really like that. It makes me think of, are we going to try are we going to piece this together with Black Panther in some way, or any of the other things? And like I said, I don't believe in coincidences. Doctor Strange is coming out. Maybe there's another type of afterlife which he could pull from or something like that, and we could get that. I don't know, man. I really really like these tie-ins that they're doing with the other shows, because they claim that, what I'm saying, Moon Knight wasn't going to be tied to much, but it's clearly a lie at this point, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's right there. So I don't know. I really liked it.
Yeah, I love that they wanted the show to stand on its own 2 feet, but it clearly exists in the MCU, right? Like
Yeah.
much like Aquaman, there isn't much references to anything else besides like I think they mentioned the events of I can't even remember what it was, honestly. But they referenced something, but it's like, yeah, it's its own thing, but it takes place in the DCEU with Man of Steel and everyone else. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I love. We're focusing just on Mark because that's something that Agents of Shield did poorly. Like the show was more about, oh, look how cool we are and how connected we are to the MCU, and then with other shit sprinkled in, right? Like let's focus on this, but it also takes place in this other world, in the MC that we know of. So that's something that I really like about the show. And the ancestral plane, that's like maybe the first or second thing besides like well, this is like the second Wakandan reference that we get on the show. We see the Wakandan book in Steven's apartment, the
Mm-hmm.
ancestral plane, and again, I just love the depiction of all of these different versions of the afterlife. A really good example was the difference between the ancestral plane between Killmonger and T'Challa, right? Like it's completely different between the two,
Yep.
and how in Mark and Steven's head, it's in their afterlife, it's essentially the embodiment of an insane asylum, and
Mm-hmm.
it's because Mark thinks that he's really truly like mentally ill, like he is not dealing well with all of the things that he's been through and done in his life. So how do you feel about like his afterlife being an insane asylum? Like what are your thoughts on that when you heard it the first time?
So it's kind of, it's fitting in a sense, because he obviously, deep down, that's how he feels. He feels like he's crazy. He feels that way because he's like, I have multiple personalities and I'm not dealing with them the way that I should. So he knows that he has DID. So he's like, okay, if I was ever if I ever told anybody that I had DID, because he wouldn't even tell Layla, then they would put me here in an asylum. So maybe that's why he is putting himself into that situation, as his ancestral plane per se, his afterlife is insane asylum, because he genuinely feels like he's crazy. He feels like these things happened, they drove him crazy, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the reason why he's just not even, you know what I'm saying, telling people about it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's all sad, right? Like T'Challa sees, this beautiful African plain with all of the past kings. Killmonger sees the old apartment that he lived in with his dad. And
Hmm.
then Mark only sees an insane asylum, someplace that he thinks that he belongs, right? Like he's just so shattered and so broken. And even Khonshu sees it, but to some degree, it's like, what do you think about Khonshu? Do you think he was manipulating Mark, or does he actually see Mark as something special? Like, what did you think about that in that scene? How did you interpret it? Because Steven believes that he was manipulated, but what do you think?
So for me, I feel like Khonshu needed a body. Um, so and he was all like, "Come on, you need to survive. You're about to pass. Come on, I got you." And then it was just his avatar for until he found a better avatar, which is he thinks Layla is his
Layla.
avatar. So that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like it was just like I need to do something as a god and to protect these people, and this is my chance. And I feel like I got a way to be like I can save you. So this is my way in until I can find my actual avatar that I want. So that's what I feel. I feel he was kind of manipulative, but I
Yeah.
think that he's in the long run he's like, okay, this is actually working out. But that he was like, no, you know what I'm saying? I need this. I need to be able to help. And this is my way of doing it because, gasping for air, he's in his last breaths and nobody wants to die. So he just feels like, oh, I can save you. And that's what it is.
Yeah, that's very true. That is pretty manipulative. It's like, well, I kind of need this guy for the time. I need a body for the time being. This
Mm-hmm.
guy isn't exactly in a position to say no. So, yeah, I guess I'll offer him my powers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just like, yeah. And then he finds the person that he actually wants as the avatar. And now it's kind of one of those things where it's like, do you force your way out, or try to manipulate your way into getting Layla? So
Yeah, man. This show is just it's so fucking deep, bro. So let's dive into we're getting well, let's compile the entire backstory of Mark and Randall, because this is absolutely depressing. So Mark and Steven walk into this room. They see all of these dead bodies, and Steven figures out that these are the people that Mark's killed. And then we see this little boy, and Steven's like, Mark, why is there a child here in a room full of people that you've killed?
mhm.
And Randall runs off, and then we start to get the backstory, and Mark realizes, oh shit, this is not something that I want Steven to see. This is not something I want Steven to find out. And
Mhm.
then we find out that, they went into this cave. Mom said not to go in there while it was raining. They went in anyway, and Randall drowns. That was so, like, depressing, out of left field. Like, I did not think it was gonna happen that way. What do you think?
Yeah. So this room full of people that Mark killed, and then for Randall to be there, that would be another hint at Mark believes that he is. I mean, obviously, he thinks that he's the reason that his brother is dead. It's his fault. They talk about that through the episode and everything like that. He puts all the blame on himself. It's my fault. So that is the reason why maybe he feels like that's why Randall was in the room with people that he killed, because he felt like he killed his brother, which is unfair to himself, but that's what it is. And then with that scene, as it's happening, and then Steven is screaming and it's like, "Come on, boys, come on, let's get out of here!" and all this. It was really tough just to even watch that. It. This is the second show in a row that we've watched with some trauma like this, because with Peacemaker and his brother,
Yeah.
and then
Oh
we're
my
getting
God.
and then we're getting this one. It's like back to back. Come on, dude. Like it's just like, man. But yeah, I didn't think that that was what was even going to happen. I don't know what I thought was going to happen. I just was like, oh, it's a little kid. What is he trying to do? And I thought maybe it was like some little kid, because I didn't think it was going to be a brother. But I was thinking, oh, it's a little kid that he shot with a stray bullet, got hit with a stray bullet or something like that. I had no idea what we were getting into. And then for that to be the way, it was just like, oh my God, like that was so tough. So tough.
Yeah, man. Like, I didn't really put any real thought into what his initial trigger was because I wanted to find out organically on the show. And this was beyond traumatizing to think that your responsibility is your little brother and then to know that you're the cause of his death. Like, I could not even imagine, because I
Mm-hmm.
have a younger brother, I could not even imagine dealing with that. Like, I would be broken just on that alone. And then for your own mother to blame you after that, it's
And constantly.
absolutely insane. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about, so we're at the gathering for the funeral for Randall, and then she just flat out says that it's your fault. It's all your fault. It was your job to protect him. It's all your fault. And I'm like, you're his mother. He was 11. This is a
Yeah.
small child. He thought he was just having an adventure with his younger brother. It was raining. It was fun. You
Mm-hmm.
you can't blame him. He didn't do it maliciously. Like, what the fuck, bro? Like,
And she's like, you were always jealous of him, weren't you? And it's just like, oh my God, like it's so crazy to think that this is the way that, in a sense, that's in a moment like that can change everything in general. Like a moment like that, like you grow up, you're raising your kids, you love your kids to death. And then something like that happens. And even that moment can trigger you to snap towards this type of feelings towards your kids and things like that. And it's just like it's crazy to put that all into perspective of that's how these things can just anything like that can just happen and change the world and the way you view it in general just because of that. And I thought, even though this is a sick moment and she needed help and he didn't deserve that, it's still putting it in perspective of there are people out there that may have snapped like that with accidents happening with their kids and things like that. They, instead of, you know, accepting it and dealing with it in another way, they place the blame on the child or whatever. So I just thought that that was just like it's really really deep diving and it's really crazy that they're touching on these moments. And this is the MCU, you know what I'm saying, on Disney. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Thinking that you're getting stories like this on Disney is like wow. Like it's crazy to think that the mouse is allowing things like this, and and they're growing. I like it. I like it that they're growing and they're giving us real stories.
yeah, man. And it's just crazy to also think that she would be this upset with him for years. Like, this wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, like this is like a month. It's still on call for no matter what it is, but like,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't a month. This was years of abuse and just blaming this small child. Like, there
Mm-hmm.
was nothing he could have done. Like, yes, it was a mistake, he shouldn't have done it, but blaming him for the death of his brother, it was not the way.
Mm-hmm.
And to think that it was just so traumatic for him that he would create an altar that was kind of, I would say, like a reminder of like his brother and the show that they really like to watch, Tombbuster. I thought that
Mm-hmm.
was really really cool.
Yeah.
That he created this persona. He created Stephen Grant because of this character that him and his brother loved so much, because he wanted to create an altar that was like, you know what, my mom's awesome, right. Mark's sitting on the floor and he's just like, that's not my mom, that's not my mom, that's not my mom. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when Steven comes, because Steven's the one that believes that mom's great, she's the best, Leia's gay is, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like she's the best, right.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all real sad, man. It's just so sad.
Man, it's so crazy. And then he's like cleaning up. Better clean this up for mom sees and all this other. And it's just
Yeah.
dang, man. And then like to think that he's still cleaning up as she walking up to him is just like wow. So
Yeah, and then we get the other flashback to the funeral, right, to her funeral, where he's right outside, his dad's looking, he's drinking right by the car, and then he just starts walking, and then he gets that flashback of when he was a teenager, and you got Mark and Steven just looking at Mark in this moment where he takes off his yarmulke, and he's just absolutely fucking broken because his mom's dead, but she was also a very mean, evil bitch. You know, so he's struggling with these emotions, and then on top of that, he's also been murdering people for Conchu, and before that, he was a mercenary. So to think that he would be able to go to the funeral and stand up in front of his mother's coffin, it's like she thinks that I'm a murderer, and that's what I became. So it's like it's multiple levels of trauma all in this moment. And this is where he breaks. This is where he breaks to the point where he couldn't keep Steven inside anymore. And then their lives started to blend together like he mentioned. So it's just like,
yeah, it's like, and it's like you're watching the scene as it develops, and then he starts punching the yarmulke, and then all of a sudden he picks up the phone. Hey, mom, and it's like, oh man, that's so crazy to think that it's happening so that fast. Like I couldn't imagine just like seeing something like that where somebody's going to that level and then they boom, they break and they go to the ultimate personality.
yeah, man, because he's that broken. And I think in that moment, Steven was the alter needed in order for him to feel good.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, right, when you look at Steven when he was on that when he was on the phone, he wasn't talking to anyone. It was like on the home screen or like some random screen on the phone. Like it wasn't even on a dialed call. So
Yeah.
it's like it really is just all in his head that he's having these conversations with his mom. And then that connects to the scene in the insane asylum where he's talking to Hara and he's like, I want to talk to my mom. He's like, okay, I'll get her on the phone, right?
Yeah.
And then when he hands him the phone, it's that moment of acceptance. He's like, no, I know my mom's dead.
Yeah, and during the whole scene, no, don't call her, because he didn't want to accept it, and
Yeah.
he was like, no, please don't call her, she's busy, and all this other stuff, and he's like, no, no, I'm gonna call her now, I'm gonna call her now, and it's just like, don't, and then finally, he does have that acceptance where he has to understand, like, she's dead, and I think I think with that was all foreshadowing, like you talked in the group chat, you were saying that you think it's over for him, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about some of the stuff on the boat, right? So this is what do they call it? The something duat?
Huh.
I can't
I
remember
can't remember.
exactly what it
Duat.
is.
I
Yeah, but
remember
it's
Duat.
just the plane for lost souls, for those taken souls. What did you think about like the CGI and like what did you think about all of that stuff?
I liked it. I thought it was interesting enough and everything. As far as like the boat just in the sand and it's kind of like spinning and everything like that. I thought that was really good. It's just traveling through the sand and the desert and everything like that. I thought that was done well. I thought our scene where we get the zombie sand monsters or whatever. I thought that was really cool too. I thought it was done really well with them fighting them. The sand kind of falls apart. We get the Steven using the bat, and he's like, "I like cricket," and he says six and
Six.
stuff like, yeah. So I mean that I thought that was all. I thought that was all really done well, especially because these are TV shows and they just look so real. Like I mean, not so real. They look movie quality, and it's just like they continue to keep that movie quality. They don't cut corners, things like that. They kept that movie quality up as these is going on. So I thought that was really dope.
Yeah, I thought it was really really cool. It was just nice to like spend time as in the Egyptian underworld. I thought it was really really cool keeping that purple color palette. That's kind of similar to like the ancestral plane and stuff like that. So I thought that was really really cool. I love that you can see the sunlight constantly trying to break through the clouds in there as well. And let's just kind of get into it. Let's get into what it means with Steven falling off the boat and everything like that. So my interpretation of that, with them coming together in that moment, with them finally seeing everything that Mark was trying to hide from Steven,
Mm,
this is finally the moments of like true acceptance for Mark, right? And when Steven goes over and Steven like solidifies in the sand and everything, and the scales finally like level out. Like, and this was actually my girlfriend that brought this to my attention, but she thought immediately that this was Mark actually not getting over his trauma, but actually dealing with it to the point where he didn't need Steven anymore. And
Mhm.
that's why his soul balanced, right? It was off balance the whole time because they weren't transparent with each other. There were things that they were hiding from one another, and they weren't whole, they weren't one, right? So now that he's completely opened up to Steven, and now that he's, somewhat gotten over that trauma, maybe he doesn't need Steven anymore. And as soon as Steven goes away, the scales balance, and then he's immediately in the field of reeds, right?
Mhm.
So how did you interpret that?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna talk about too. When Stephen does have that phone call with Harold and everything like that, and he finally accepts that his mom is dead. At that point, Stephen's purpose is gone. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole purpose is happy mom, all this other stuff. My mom was great, this, and that, and he never accepted the fact that she is dead. So now, with Harold doing that and basically like, here, talk to her and stuff like that, and he accepted that she's dead, that was the final piece. And you knew it was coming. I guess in a sense, it was foreshadowing of that it was coming, that he was going to like finally be done for. So he falls off the boat, solidifies, and it's just, you know what I'm saying? And the balance is, it happens immediately because there were two hearts or whatever. Now they're going to be formed into one. So now it's just, he's one whole purpose, one whole person. So now he's balanced, and he can go back into the living world. Um,
So
and
that was also really confusing for me too, because Jake's a part of them. So
mhm,
when the scales weren't balanced, I was like, "Oh, the we have to save Jake
the
in order to
third
get
heart.
that third heart." And then that's when it balances with the feather, they become one, and then
Mhm.
that's when they get back to the living world, defeat Haro and Amit, right? But that doesn't happen. So it's like,
It
what the
does
fuck does
though,
that
right?
mean?
It does though, right? Because
How?
it wasn't balanced because it was missing a heart. So now Stephen dies, but there's still two hearts on the scale.
Yeah, but do you think that's
Maybe.
that's what that means? Because
No,
because
I
because I
just throwing that
interpret
out
it
there.
as that's still Steven's heart, and we would still need Jake's. So that was a little confusing to me. That was a little
Yeah.
weird.
I was just doing that just to be just playing devil. But it's like, okay, maybe possibly like when he dies, the reason why the heart didn't morph into one or dissolve or whatever was because now Jake's heart just takes that spot or whatever. I don't know. That was just me just throwing something out there and just being like, aha. But yeah, um, I don't know, man. Like, I'm really, really just wondering how that's gonna play off and how does that even make sense, because there was, like you said, there's still two hearts there, and it should be Steven's heart that's there. So now, how does that even work? How did it balance and everything like that?
Yeah, I think it's just due to acceptance. He accepted his trauma. He accepted his past, and he
Mhm.
accepted the mission going forward. You know what I mean? But it can go both ways for me. Like I interpret it as, him no longer needing Steven anymore, because like he's already kind of actually dealt with that trauma, because the fact that he created Steven in the first place means that he didn't know any other way to deal with it, right?
Mhm.
But now that he's been through all of this with Steven, I think he's actually had acceptance, and he can move forward, and he doesn't need Steven anymore. Or it could just be that, Steven's just stuck temporarily, and then some way, somehow, Steven will be able to come back to the fold, rejoin the altars, and then they can like work together, brains and the brawn working together, right? I think
Mhm.
that could work for me too. So it could
Yeah.
go either way.
I think Steven, yeah, I feel like Steven will be back. Mr. Knight, that whole persona, that costume, I don't feel like that's over. So I definitely feel like Steven will be back. Will it be in this series? I don't know. But I think that personality will be back. I'm wondering how they save him, or how would they get him? Would it be Khonshu going back and just picking him up, or I don't know how it would work. But I think Steven is definitely going to be back.
Yeah, I mean, and I would love that too, right? Like, I would love for Steven to still be around. I would accept it either way. I would accept it if we never see Steven again, and I would love to see him back. Because, again, you know, they're two sides of the same coin, and I love it. Whenever we need any of that Egyptology knowledge, we got Steven, right? Whenever we
Mm-hmm.
need to kick some ass, we got Mark. And when we need people dead, we got Jake.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting is like, so when you think about all of this that's really coming in all into play with the DID, you don't just, even though you have created that personality, you don't just gain knowledge just from having a different personality. So this lets you know that Mark is actually really, really intelligent. You just put it in that personality. So I'm thinking, I'm wondering, is he going to somewhat tap into that, or are we going to have to bring Stephen back for that? Because you don't just know Egyptian theology and things like that on your own. I mean,
Well,
just
I
out of
mean,
nowhere.
Steven is his own consciousness. He's his own being, right? Like, I highly doubt that Mark's vegan. You know what I mean? And
Facts.
much like Split, like DID, one of them was diabetic. Like,
Hmm.
one of them was an artist. Like, the beast was inhumanly strong. So it's like, I think these personalities, the alters, like, they create their own personas. So it's like, I think Steven, much like, you know, Dr. Stephen Grant, like, he took that path because, you know, that was the most logical thing for him to do. So I
Hmm.
think the memories are separated, and I kind of like it that way, you know.
Yeah. So the memory stuff, but I would say, yeah, when he's Stephen, he is studying these things, which
Right.
made him gain that knowledge. Okay, that makes sense. Because I'm thinking, like, as a person, just in general, it shows that he's that intelligent because he doesn't just learn it on, you know what I'm saying, just by having the personality. That's what I was just trying to get to. He wouldn't just switch to Stephen. Now all of a sudden he's a genius.
Yeah.
Somebody had to absorb that information for him to know that stuff, and it just lets you know. To me, I'm just like, oh, it just lets you know how much studying and how smart he actually is. For him to know all of that, still know the mercenary, the combat tactics, and even further down with Jake of that type of, killer and stuff like that. I don't know if we have someone that intelligent and combative at the same time in the MCU. I'm not sure. Um, we
T'Challa.
have intelligent, yeah, T'Challa's, yeah, but that's true.
Yeah,
But
man,
it's
it
like,
hurts.
dang, it's just like, man, we don't. It's just nice to have characters like that where they're not just these characters. That's not just one side, one coin, one side of the coin where they're just actiony, actiony, actiony. That they have different traits
Yeah,
and things like
T'Challa's
that.
extremely intelligent, but I mean, nothing compared to Shuri. But he
Yeah.
was the brains and brawn all rolled into one. It's sad. But Rob, to your point, man, I think we'll get more of Jake in episode 6 as far as a full manifestation. I don't know. What I would love to see is Jake kind of take over and just like go on a fucking killing spree of all of Haru's men and killing him and Amit. But I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
whenever Mark does wake up, it could be Jake that takes control. Because we know that Jake, well, we don't know that for a fact, but I think, like I said before, Jake was the one, the altar that was created to be the strong one, to take the beatings, to be able to kill mindlessly so that Mark doesn't have to deal with that trauma and deal with those thoughts and those emotions, right? It would make sense. They get back to the real world. Shit needs to get done. We need to kill people. Haru needs to die. It's Jake. Jake in the Moon Knight armor, just murking niggas. Like, I
That's
think,
it.
I
It's
think that
gonna
would
be
be
crazy.
lit.
It's gonna be crazy, and I'm wondering if maybe like it'll be something like the episode starts and Mark is like, "We just lost Steven," and he's like kind of upset, and then all of a sudden he starts getting like the whole kind of I'm angry, and he gets angry and he turns into Jake, and then boom, we just go straight from there. Like, boom, Jake is doing this, doing that, and he starts killing people, ends up getting releasing Khonshu, and then we get something like that. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
He's just gonna be so fucking triggered from Steven after a while. He's just gonna be like, and then Jake's just gonna pop up out of nowhere.
yeah. With the finale being 45 minutes, or rumored to be 45 minutes, do you think we start the episode with Haro releasing Amit? Because we know
Um,
from this episode that Amit's been released because there are souls dropping like flies into
mhm.
the underworld. So we know that for a fact. We know Amit's out. But do you waste time starting off the episode showing us Amit being released? Or do we just jump into the shit? Like, do we start with Mark in the field of reeds? Or how does he get out?
I
You know
don't
what I
know.
mean?
You just never know because, like, okay, so I can't remember her name, but on IMDb, they have a character, they have a lady that is supposed to be Amit.
Right.
So ever since episode 2, it said that she had 3 episodes,
Yeah, they
three
lied to us
appearances.
like always.
And now I'm looking at it and it only says 1 appearance on IMDb. So I'm like, oh, okay, so you guys played us into thinking that she was going to be in 3 episodes, and now it only says 1 episode. So I'm wondering how soon does she pop up? Um, who she could be possibly, because they haven't shown her, and the woman that's playing her, I don't think they've shown her in the series at all.
Not
So
yet,
I'm,
but she's supposed to be the new Avatar.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, and it's like, are we going to get to see it right out the gate, like you said, or are we going to see some kind of development of, Haro maybe praising her or something like that? I don't know what we're going to get. Like, I really don't.
Yeah, and I
I,
like that too. I like that I can't predict like anything. Like I have no idea. I know that we're gonna defeat Amit. I hope, but that's about it, right? Like we have no idea. For all we know, dude, Mark has been stuck in the field of reeds this entire time. Like, you know what I mean? Like he could have been there the entire time, and this is all just like him remembering shit from past trauma. Like he could have been there the whole time. He could still be who we don't know that he made it from Bushman. Bushman probably killed him. We don't know.
this is true. This could all be true. And or we just start the episode off and then like the coffin door kicks open and Jake's like, I guess I'll do it myself type. Like
Fine,
Thanos,
I'll
like
do it
Thanos.
myself.
like some Thanos stuff. And then he comes off the boat and he sees Mark standing there and he's like, what are you doing? And he kind of just like, I don't know, but because I feel like you have to get Jake because you have to just I feel like you have to at least introduce it even if you don't necessarily, confirm that, what I'm saying, that he identifies with it. I think they at least need to confirm it for the audience that Jake exists. Um, and if they don't, what I'm saying, I guess. But I feel like obviously Oscar Isaac, an actor that big, I feel like he will be Moon Knight in different movies, maybe
Yeah,
a Moon Knight movie and appearance and things like that. So maybe they're saving Jake. Maybe they won't, reveal Jake until we get into another movie or anything like that, and then they reveal Jake and stuff like that, and then that would make this series more a rewatch. Like immediately, you're like, oh, okay, I watched this, and then I see the Jake personality come out here in I don't know, Spider-Man 4 or something like that. And then you see the personality come out, and then you're like, huh. And then every time you watch Spider-Man 4 on freaking Disney Plus, they freaking say, hey, watch Moon Knight like they do on this, like at
yeah,
the end of each episode or something like that. So I'm wondering if they reveal Jake now or if they reveal him in the next appearance, whichever that may be.
yeah. What show do you get recommended after each episode? I get Eternals every time.
Yeah, Eternals
Yeah,
for the end of Moon Knight. So at the end of Loki, it was what
I
was it?
can't even remember.
I don't know. But like for Falcon Winter Soldier, it was like, hey, watch Age of Ultron, which every time for Falcon Winter Soldier. For What If, I think for What If it was like Iron Man 2 for some
Was it?
reason.
I
Yeah,
can't
and
even
then
remember anymore.
yeah, but for Loki, I can't even remember which one they wanted us to watch for the end of Loki. But for this one, they keep on saying Eternals, 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 and it makes sense because Black Knight, then you get Black Knight, you get Moon Knight, and so forth and so forth. So that's where
Yeah,
I'm
and we
assuming
dealt with gods in Eternals too. I mean, the
exactly.
Celestials, the Eternals. We got the
Yeah,
Egyptian gods in this. Like,
so I think that might be why. So that's going to be interesting to see because I really don't know where Moon Knight's appearance is going to be in this next I feel like it's gonna be something that ties together with Doctor Strange, just because I just don't, like I said, with even with Spider-Man and Hawkeye, it was like, even though it was small, something small, it was like, oh, okay, well, we have Kingpin and Hawkeye, and then boom, we have Daredevil and Spider-Man. So it was like, okay, that's something small, but it's there and it's enough for you to have it. I feel like something in Doctor Strange is going to go back to this series. It has
I don't know. I hope so. I think that would be
to.
really, really cool. And yeah, Rob, the fact that we're getting the Moon Knight finale and Doctor Strange multiverse into the multiverse of madness that close is absolutely fucking insane. Like seeing the Moon Knight finale on Wednesday, then seeing Doctor Strange 2 at 3 p.m. on Thursday.
Yeah.
I can't fucking wait. I can't wait.
I don't believe in coincidence. I'm telling you, I don't know what it's gonna be. It's gonna be something super small though. It might even just be more mentioning of the celestial ancestral plane. You know what I'm saying? And maybe more stuff for that, because we do know that we get different Doctor Stranges, we get things like that. Maybe one of them passes, we get his, afterlife vision or something like that. Maybe his afterlife vision is, seeing freaking, was it Amy Adams as at the wedding. You know what I'm saying? So it's like maybe that's what his afterlife thing is. And then that's the small little tie-in. But I feel like something with Moon Knight is tying in. It's too close. They're too close together.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild, man. I can't wait to see how they're gonna wrap it up. Like, I don't even have predictions for the finale. Like, I just don't know what could possibly happen. It's like they could open up episode 6. It's like, yeah, it's all been bullshit. He's been in the field of reeds the whole time. It's all been bullshit. But I highly doubt that's the case, because I think we're actually gonna get a huge showdown with Haro and Amit. But I don't know, man. I have zero predictions for the finale. I'm just ready for it.
Or a quick fast track of Jake. Like for like the first 2 minutes of the episode, it's just showing all the little things that Jake did throughout episode 1 to 5. I think that would be cool too.
Yeah, that would be really cool. But yeah, so Rob mentioned that in an interview, Oscar Isaac talked about the fact that we're gonna see who was in the other coffin. So we're definitely gonna get Jake in some capacity in the 6th episode, in the finale. But in what capacity is it? Like, will he be fighting in the suit? Like we've speculated before, it would be cool if Jake got like his own version of the Moon Knight suit, right? Mm-hmm. Like if he tweaked it just a little bit just for himself. Like I think that would be really, really cool, because that's what they did with Moon Knight and Mr. Knight. Why not let Jake have his own thing too, right? Like just a minor variation to the Moon Knight suit.
I think I've said this before. I think that Jake does the fighting during the daytime, when you can't summon the suit. You can't summon the suit. Who's going to protect them during the daytime? And it's Jake. Jake does all the fighting during the daytime, because you can only summon the suit at nighttime. So that gives you, and I've said this before with the poster. It's Mr. Knight, and then there's the Moon Knight suit, and then there's Oscar Isaac. But I don't think that that's Oscar Isaac. I think that's Jake.
For sure.
So Mr. Knight is Steven, Jake, and then Mark is in the other suit.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
This shit is so good, bro. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But Ethan Hawke has been killing this entire series, bro. Like his acting, his manipulation, like the dude is just killing it this whole series.
And it's like, is him and Kachi both manipulating?
Yeah. Yeah. Something that I wanted to bring up before we wrap. I can't remember if it was at the beginning of episode 4 or episode 5, where we see I believe it was Horus's avatar putting Khonshu with the rest of the deities that they've encased in stone. There's like 10 of them. Like, I want to know what other gods they've imprisoned. I would love to know.
And so, because isn't there 9 or 10 of them total, right?
So there's supposed to be 9 members of the Ennead, and then we only see seven of them. And Khonshu was one of them, so there's really only 6. So we can speculate that there's 3 to 4 of them from the Ennead that's imprisoned, but there was 10 of them. Who's the
Yeah.
rest? Who's the rest of them?
Hey, that's interesting, man. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking because if there's supposed to be 9 of them and we only saw 6, at least 3 of them are them. So the other ones, I don't know.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, and chat can correct me, I don't think that Horus was even a member of the original 9 Ennead. I think he was added when some other members were removed. So the number is even less. So all of them could be members of the Ennead. We don't even know.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
that could be cool.
Because if you look at a list, Horus and I can't remember her name, but the woman that was saying that the god that she represents, her and Khonshu were really close.
They were
I
lovers.
can't remember. I can't remember her name, but her and Horus, they weren't original members of the Ennead. They were added into this, so it's like, who knows how many of the other ones were imprisoned and why?
That, and I mean, but why is the real thing of, but I feel like, so they all can't be the original members because Khonshu does say to them, you know, you guys all just disappeared and abandoned these people.
Right.
So at least 1 or 2 of them have to be the originals.
Well, yeah, at least 4, at least 4 or 5 for sure.
Yeah, so that's the thing, but there are a lot of them that I think are, you know what I'm saying, like some extra members and things like that, which come into play because I seen a video that was saying that they didn't trust the girl that's the avatar for the lover of Khonshu and everything like that. They were like, I don't trust her. I don't trust her avatar. And I don't trust her because everybody else, when they walk away, they all turn back into their original humans, their avatars or whatever, and they walk away. And she's still like in her form. And then she turns into the spirit last after, you know, the whole meeting and everything like that. And it was like, that means something and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
Like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I don't know. We're going to see.
Yeah, definitely intriguing for sure. And Rob, like, Haro is, like you said, an incredible villain. Like, this dude is a literal master of manipulation, and he is the worst kind of villain because he truly, truly believes that he's saving the world. These are the worst kinds of villains. The ones that actually think that they're saving the world. Thanos is a little bit different to me because there's arguments to be made that Thanos was doing the right thing. If you've seen Eternals, there's some other things that go on that, although cruel, on a grander scheme in terms of the universe, I don't think Thanos was wrong. But Haro, prejudging everyone and just sending everyone to essentially hell, killing them and sending them to hell before they've even been able to do anything, I think that's wrong. The future isn't set. There is always the possibility that someone could make a different choice, right? And I don't know. Maybe Haro is an incredible villain.
Maybe he feels like that's an absolute point.
You know what? I take back what I just said because we know that Kang has our main timeline in a loop, right? So in our universe, there aren't multiple possibilities, like there aren't multiple futures. Like there's just one and it goes in like a loop. It goes to the end, kind of just starts over and keeps going, right? So I don't know.
It's gonna be interesting to see. Like I'm excited. I'm ready for next week. I don't think there's anything going on this weekend or Monday or Tuesday, so let's just fast forward to Wednesday, and then I get the episode, and then the next day I get to see Doctor Strange. I don't think I can deal without this weekend.
Caden, I'm with you. He definitely makes my skin crawl, especially the fact that this dude is constantly just walking on glass all the time, completely unfazed. This master manipulator, he just waves his hands and everyone just does whatever he wants. Like he's been able to literally make everyone do anything. He's made people believe that Amit prejudging people before they do anything. That includes children. It's like, well, in 50 years, you're going to put some graffiti on a highway. Kill
Yeah,
it, kill the child.
chill.
Like, what? What are we doing?
It's like Batman. And he's like, "Are you doing graffiti?" So yeah.
Yeah, man. But these episodes have been absolutely incredible. Can't wait to see what they do with the finale. Steve, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, man, I'm excited for this finale. Don't play me, show me I'm it. Like I've been for like the last couple episodes because like IMDb said that she would be in 3 episodes,
Yeah, they
and
lied.
they they played me like a fiddle. And it's like you can update the IMDb, Kevin Feige, you son of a bitch. It's like so. I'm wondering if we're even going to see her, and then that makes me want to remember her name before they change it if she doesn't show up, because now I want to know. But I want to see Amit. I'm thinking
Yeah, like
about the
her actual form.
yeah, I want to see it. I remember the red dress and everything that we got on the 2016 run, and I just like, oh, she's freaking sick. So I would love to see her in this. But
Yeah.
other than that, yeah, I'm excited. Give us Jake too. We need Jake.
Yeah. I'm very excited. I am definitely probably on Tuesday. I'm gonna rewatch the first 5 episodes again so I can have everything super fresh in my mind for episode 6. So I can look back and be like, "Yep, that was definitely Jake. That was definitely Jake here. That was definitely Jake." And then on Friday we'll come back and we'll talk about the finale. We'll talk about the entire series as a whole and where it matches up for us along with the other Marvel Disney Plus shows. If it ends really, really strong, I think this is a good contender for either number 2 or number 3. WandaVision is still like peak, right? And Loki's peak as well. So it's
Mhm.
like Moon Knight is either going to be number 3 or number 2. But can't wait to see what the finale does. Again, rumor says that it's 45 minutes. I saw a lot of different sources say that it was going to be 45 minutes. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's like 57 minutes. So it's actually like 50 minutes and then like 7 minutes of like the end credits, because I just don't know how you wrap everything up, especially knowing that we're not getting a season 2, right?
Facts.
So we don't know the future of Moon Knight right now. Like we don't know when a movie's going to happen. We don't know when Midnight Suns is going to happen, because I don't think you do Midnight Suns until you've already given Daredevil more stuff to do in the MCU. You bring Punisher back in. I think
Mhm.
you introduce Blade first.
And
Um,
then
bring in
possibly,
Ghost Rider.
yeah, Ghost Rider has to come in. You have to do that. But it's like that's years down the line, because Blade comes out what next year,
Is
like
it or
20.
2024 or some shit like that?
Oh, well then
I'm
that's
not
two
sure.
years. That's way down the line.
Don't
And
quote
then
me.
that's for something that's already in production. So
Right.
if you're saying, oh, we're gonna get Ghost Rider, no, that ain't even in production that we know of. So you know what I'm saying? You got to hire an actor. Norman Reedus, by the way.
Yes.
But yeah, so you got to hire an actor. You got to do all that, and then Punisher. You got to hope that John Berthal comes back for Punisher. Like you got a lot of work to do, which means that we wouldn't get Midnight Suns until 2028. So it's like
Shit. Yeah, that's a good point.
like it's like, man, so for you to do this one run series for Oscar Isaac and Moon Knight, it's like, where is he gonna come in again? Because I feel like he has to come back, but it's just when. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of when.
Yeah. And yeah,
Another,
Rob, next week's episode is going to be wild. Next week's episode is going to be non-spoiler only for Doctor Strange, and then, full breakdown of the finale. Yeah, definitely non-spoiler review for Doctor Strange that Friday. So we're going to do one on villains. I'm going to give like my first thoughts right out of the theater. I'm going to put out a video right after that. And then Friday, like I just mentioned, we'll do a non-spoiler review and the Moon Knight finale. And then on the 13th of May, that's when we'll do the full breakdown of Multiverse of Madness, like top to bottom, every Easter egg, every frame that has something cool in it. We're gonna break the whole fucking thing down. So yeah, it's gonna be the next 2 episodes of Villains are gonna be fucking.
I'm at Scuba Steve 1428 on all social media. Follow the Inside the Mind of a Blerd page at the Blerd Mind. Shout out to Rob J, who is basically our Kuroku of Inside the Mind of a Blerd. He's on like 13 episodes now. He's just like our hidden man, our six man, invisible six man. So shout out to him. But yeah, man.
Yeah, and you guys can follow me all over social media at JB Exclusive, and of course, see the number 4 spoilers. I'm gonna be working on a list of. So I'm working on an article that's gonna list out every single member of the Illuminati that I actually think is going to be in the movie. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm also gonna be working on another article that I don't want to tell you guys about just yet. I'll reveal that next week. But got some stuff coming up in the works. Tomorrow, I may stream on Twitch just for like a little bit before I go see Everything Everywhere All at Once. Can't wait to see that movie. Finally, very excited for that. But make sure you guys stay tuned to carefulforspoilers.com. You've Got to See This has a new episode up right now where those guys talked about the unbearable weight of massive talent and the Northmen. Really great reviews, so make sure you guys check that out. And yeah, make sure you guys come back next week for the Moon Knight finale because it is going to be fucking wild, guys. So until the next episode, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Peace.